This is Can You See Me Now, Mom by Mhybe. We'll drop a like and we will have a watch.
Everything began at this moment.
El Condor Pasa. I heard
2
that
years
one.
before, when Ninomiya first received his timid call, he could never have imagined what's happening in front of him. That horse, El Condor Pasa, would go on to represent Japan at the peak of European racing.
I revenged Golshi in the arc. At some point, I want to do a run on JP for all the horses that didn't win in the arc. I want to avenge them.
Entering as a favorite against the best of Europe and finishing a good second in the arc. It was at that moment a dream was etched into the very soul of Japanese racing. And it was also at this moment Ninomiya felt a quiet premonition that one day he will return to this land.
Round 1, the buy-in.
Once during a visit to America, Ninomiya fell ill and was confined to his hotel room. At the time, the horse owner Izumi Shinichi heard about this. Despite two men had never met, Izumi asked his daughter Nobuko to send care to this fellow Japanese. The next day, as Izumi prepared to go back to Japan, Ninomiya came down to the lobby to see him off and thank for everything he did. That simple exchange marked the beginning of a bond. For Izumi family, this was just a small, unremarkable kindness, but it was this small, tiny kindness. Ninomiya would return the gratitude in an unthinkable way. Izumi Shinichi,
That's
a seasoned owner,
such a good
in fact,
artwork there.
almost 50 long years. He still had not had a G1 horse. Later in an auction, Ninomiya picked up a colt for him. This colt's pedigree is fascinating. His female line has produced notable G1 horses in both Japan and America, and if you look deeper into it, you will see one name repeatedly: Rebo, who was the greatest horse of the 20th century. If you ask Americans, many will say Secretariat.
True.
If you go to Europe, you're going to hear...
I would say Secretariat is the most named horse that I hear that's an American. If not Secretariat, then, oh my god, come on brain. Sunday Silence.
this name a lot. How great was Rebo? 16 stars, 16 wins,
Jeez.
2 times arc winner. Still holds the largest winning margin in the arc. After retirement, Rebo was sent to the US for stud. At the international level, he became one of the most influential sires. Because his value was too high, no insurance company would underwrite the risk to transport him back to Europe, so Rebo stayed in the US entirely. That said, many believe if he was in Europe, his impact would be even greater, since much of his progeny were better suited to European racing conditions, not all adapted ideally to American training system. And this is the name you will find from this colt. But there is still a
That's
question.
interesting.
Why did Ninomiya choose a stay-go child? There are several rumors. Some say it was because of the cheap Sunday Silence bloodline. Others suggest it was because stay-go's progeny were known for having long careers. Even if they did not become elite, they still earned back their purchase. But
Yep.
among the rumors,
Nice
one
and reliable.
reason was constant. He was cheap. The hammer fell at 10 million yen.
10 million yen? How much is that? USD?
It was a low price, although I have shown the respectful side of his pedigree. In truth, this was not a fashionable pedigree to Japanese mainstream. Stego was also a cheap stallion at the time. How cheap was this price? To put it in perspective, a G3 victory would cover 3 times the purchase. 10 million means nobody gave this horse any sort of chance. Owner Izumi Shinichi also did not care too much for him. Instead, he gifted the horse to his daughter Nobuko. The colt was then given his name, Nakayama Festa, a meaning for celebration to come. But the trainer definitely did not feel that celebration. Nakayama clearly inherited his father's golden spirit. Incooperative, resist training, unwilling to run. But Nakayama's 2-year-old season was actually pretty smooth, winning an upset in his first stake and finished second by a neck in the following. Just in 2 years old, he already earned 4 times the price he was bought. But this was also his limit.
Let's
In horse
go!
racing, losing is what's really normal. Nakayama began to struggle like many other ordinary. However, Nobuko did not care about this at all. She didn't care if Nakayama would ever be great.
Yeah,
Even
she
mind
just
if he
loved him.
actually obeyed training. She simply found this horse so adorable.
The head swings. That's so adorable.
Even more, Nobuko thought this horse was
I think I said it last time I seen this video. Someone needs to play Nakayama Festa's solo song with the actual horse doing the little head bob back and forth. Just loop the head, swipe left and right. Easy video. Guaranteed to have at least 1K views on YouTube.
able to understand her, so she would visit the stable frequently, feeding him and whispering to him. And Nakayama would wait at his door, expecting Nobuko to come. But racing standard, Nakayama was a fortunate horse. In this sport, everyone wants to win more, to become a legend and define an era. But he had someone who treated him like family. However, everything was about to point south.
Round 2, bad hand called that Festa loved Nobuko so much. Yeah, Nobuko was the first one to just love him and treat him with care, so he latched onto her or attached himself to her, at least from my understanding.
Nakayama was later beaten in the Sasuke show decisively, managed a good 4th place in the heavy ground of Derby, but after that, Nakayama was just bad. With one exceptional win, nearly every other races ended in double-digit finishes. Fans were confused. What happened to Nakayama Festa? How could a horse once be so decent drop off so drastically? But Nakayama had always been a volatile horse. And around this time, Nobuko Izumi
It's the gambler in
him. After the long-waited win before Kikasho, Nakayama would pace anxiously in his stall, waiting for Nobuko to visit him for the victory. But she never showed up. Nakayama became more anxious.
Oh, is that what happened then? That due to Nobuko not visiting, Nakayama got anxious, and then I'm assuming an anxious horse is harder to train, therefore it affected his racing? Horses are smarter than we think? Yeah, that's crazy. A horse with anxious attachment. I didn't even think that was a possibility that that could affect a horse's performance, just being more anxious because he's waiting for Nobuko to show up and it affected his mood, thus his ability to race. That's really fascinating.
Training became increasingly difficult. Has Nobuko forgotten him? Has she not loved him anymore? But meanwhile, Nobuko had been diagnosed with late-stage cancer. Aware that her time was near,
Man.
she chose to travel to her favorite country, France. Not long after, she passed away. Her father,
Rest
now
in peace.
83 years old, inherited all her property in grief, which included Nakayama Festa. The training team understood if Nakayama's situation continued, he might not be able to compete. With the ownership transfer, they decided to inform Izumi Shinichi. And after knowing Nakayama would go rage because Nobuko wasn't seeing him, Izumi, who was still grieving for loss, was deeply moved. Please let him live happily, just as my daughter would have wanted. That day forward, he would bring other family members to Nakayama. They spoke to him, spent time with him, interacted with him the way Nobuko once had. Gradually, Nakayama, as if he understood something, began to calm
he just
down.
wanted a friend.
Ninomiya later reflected that 2010 was the only year Nakayama truly accepted his training. On April 24th, the Metropolitan Stakes, Nakayama won convincingly. Shortly after, Nakayama was registered for the ARC. From any
Round 3, raising the stakes.
rational perspective, it was a gamble. How difficult is the arc for Japan? Looking at the record past and future, finishing in double digits becomes normal. At the time, despite countless of the most elite were sent, only El Condo Pasa managed to finish within single digit. Deep Impact, everyone who watched his race would think this horse was invincible, resulting in the most painful chapter in Japanese racing. People began to say, if a horse like Deep Impact was not able to win, then Japan will never win the ARC. Indeed, Nakayama had just won.
I always forget just how impressive Deep Impact is, and then I see some old racing footage and I'm just like, damn.
Convincingly, but this race was only an open class event. It was hard not to question this decision. Why would you register him to the ARC? This was indeed a gamble. But to Nobuko, France was her favorite country. Before her passing, she had one simple wish: to see Nakayama stand on the turf of France. For the promise of Nobuko, For his human mother, who loved him more than anyone, Nakayama had to stand on longtime regardless of having a result or not. In June 2010, Nakayama
just
earned
in
his place in
honor
the
for
Takarazuka
memory.
Kine. Before the race, much of the attention centered on the matchup between Buena Vista, the daughter of Special Week, and Earnestly, son of Grass Wonder, a matchup that evoked memories of the golden generation. Meanwhile, Stay Go's son Dream Journey also
How you gonna use that photo of Journey? I wasn't expecting that photo. Of all photos of Journey. Oh man, that's just too funny.
posed a threat if he was informed. For them, this was a half-year Grand Prix, but for Nakayama Festa, it was more than just that. Traditionally, the Takarazuka Kinen Trophy is presented by the members of the Takarazuka Review. In life, Nobuko was a devoted fan of the review, so much so that she had dyed her hair just for her admiration. So for Nobuko, Nakayama had to win this race.
Round 4, all in.
Throughout the spring, the team skipped all graded races, focusing simply on Takarazuka Kine. June 27, 2010, as Buena Vista and Earnestly battled side by side in a corner nobody cared about, Nakayama Festa earned the only G1 for Izumi family and the most important victory for Nobuko. After decades as a horse owner, Izumi Shinichi claimed his first G1 for her beloved daughter with a horse that belonged to her.
Let's go Festa. Let's go Festa. Go, 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 go.
At the award ceremony, members of the Takarazuka Review presented flowers to the winner, thinking of his daughter, who had loved Takarazuka so dearly. Shinichi Izumi was standing in the winner's circle, holding his tears not as an owner, but as a father. After the race, the team announced their next goal that shocked the public. In the autumn of 2010, Trainer Ninomiya reassembled the same team member he had once taken to Europe. Together with Nakayama Festa, they arrived at the arc. This time, Japan sent out another strong challenger, Victory Pizza.
Poor Victory Pizza. Pizza? Yes, Victory Pizza.
An elite Shadai bred horse, proven classic performances. The legendary Take Yutaka in the saddle, the future Arima champion, Dubai World Cup winner. Few expected Nakayama Festa to outperform him, but Ninomiya gave the group a team name, Sumire, a reference to the song When the Violet Bloom, a symbolic song of the Takarazuka Review, Nobuko's favorite. Violet symbolizes modesty and sincerity. It blooms quietly, often in places people overlook. Its appearance is not particularly extravagant. Nakayama Festa is much the same. He had only been purchased for 10 million yen. He was never the most talked about horse. From the beginning, he attracted little attention, so he could only proceed step by step, resilient, persistent, and now, in the land his mother loved so dearly.
Man, I just really love that artwork there. It just says so much in one picture.
That small, overlooked violet was about to bloom.
Beautiful art there. Man, imagine if Festa had won this, but still, they weren't even expecting the performance that he did put on. But man, are you seeing me, Mom? Just goes to show, it doesn't matter what everyone else thinks, because everyone thought it was essentially a joke to put Festa in there. But for him to have performed as well as he did goes to prove all the naysayers wrong. Fun fact, embroidery on Festa's jacket is violets. Oh, I didn't know that. I guess this is why Festa's a gambler. Always bet on Festa. True. Round 5. No regrets at the table.
After that, Nakayama's story began to approach its conclusion. After the arc, he entered the Japan Cup as the second favorite, but the arc and Japan Cup is not a great double. Historically, Japanese horses coming straight from the arc rarely perform in JC. Even though Nakayama secured a reasonable position, he failed to accelerate and finished 14th.
Ooh,
Afterward,
that's
an
rough. issue
issue with his foreleg led to skipping the Alimakine and enter an extended period of rest. In September 2011, Nakayama once again traveled to France. But this time, he was no longer the horse from last year. On the soil that Nobuko loved so deeply, Nakayama Festa brought his career to a close. From the promise of Takarazuka to the journey to Paris, Nakayama Festa went on to have a journey beyond calculation. In Umamusume, he's portrayed as a gambler, a strategist of all or nothing resolve. Yet on the chest of his silk, remind people of a promise from an ordinary horse to his
Oh, I see it. I've never noticed that little detail. Wow. That's so cool.
beloved mother. A journey beyond life and death. A song the Takarazuka review still sings again and again. When the violet bloom.
Ah. So good, man. So good. Oh, wait, there was some text there. What did that text say? When the violet blooms,
Let bloom.
shades of silence gather where your voice once lived. But you are forever gone. And I gave you all that I was. Wait for the gold chip video? I know, I can't wait. That was really good.